Hi, hello everyone. I'm Marian Riad and I'm a systemic design researcher at FabLab Barcelona. This is one of the Shemakes networks. So we will shortly discover what Shemakes is in a short video just right now, and we come back.
Shemakes is an international community of partners and labs engaged in empowering women to innovate and contribute to a more sustainable textile and clothing industry. Shemakes offers a series of opportunities for inspiration, skills exchange, and networking. Shemakes has received funding through the Horizon 2020 program. For more information, see www.shemakes.eu.
Today's talk is the last of the TCBL Day 2021 encounter. TCBL is one of the two networks that funded Shemakes, along with Fabric Academy, which is a distributed alternative education program inviting students for a learning journey at the intersection between textile, digital fabrication, and biology. We have Anastasia Pistofilou here, our local guru of Shemakes, one of the co-founders of the program, who will soon present an overview of the course and the work she has been doing in the recent years. But let's introduce our topic today, which is women weaving the future of textile in Barcelona. We will now invite you to dive into the Barcelona's ecosystem, talking with amazing women about current practice and the future of textile, then opening a conversation between us about women empowerment and try to define some ingredients for cooperation when we are designing, crafting, sewing textile. So before giving the word to each of the speakers, I would like to introduce a bit of contextual elements of where we are here, because we are in the FabLab of Barcelona. This is situated inside the Institute of Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, which is in the neighborhood of Poblenou, one of the 73 neighborhoods of Barcelona. And it's interesting to see a bit what's happened in the past, because this place has been shaped by the textile industry. There was a lot of textile factory and mills from the 19th century until the 70s. This place was named as the Manchester of Catalonia, and the neighborhood went from having less than 2,000 inhabitants in 1830 to more than 160,000 one century later. During this period, a rich social fabric was woven there at that time, and especially promoting with a lot of worker cooperatives and associations. Women played a strong role in this period that supported also their own emancipation. But just for information, we could count at that time twice more women working in the textile factory, but paying twice less than men. Well, after this period, with the Franco regime and the relocalization of the textile industry outside Europe, the productive activity of Poblenou stopped and left 100 of workers unemployed. And then the area has taken part in a wave of many urban regeneration plans and has been transformed in an innovation district. And we can still see some trace of the past, thanks to some old mills that have been transformed, vehicle the cultural heritage of this industrial period and serving as a new use for local stakeholders, public, private. It's interesting to see that. And those transformations that happened on the last 20 years have also accompanied the venue of many artists, designers, makers that value the power of creativity, making and are infused by the value of open source, the wish to democratize technology and find new opportunity for producing things locally. So we count many people here in Barcelona co-constructing new narrative for the future of sustainable manufacturing in the city. So let's see, Barcelona now has an effervescent place with many emerging practice collective that are weaving the future of textile design and manufacturing, which care about inclusivity, cultural heritage, circularity, and creativity. A lot of these initiatives are led by women, so I invite you now to discover them, some of them, their story, their practice, and see their vision for the future it's already being built through these initiatives. So we have today with us four women. We have Alicia Rosello. From Dudua and Festivals. She will introduce their practice around of craft, which is quite fascinating. We have online Edith Canales from La Charcha de Dones Cosidores, initiative that has been recently created in Barcelona. We have Jessica Guy from the FabLab Barcelona, and she will tell a bit what we are doing toward how we can foster the connection between maker manufacturer when we are thinking about this new narrative toward productive city. And she will talk about MakeWorks. And as I mentioned, we have Anastasia Pistofil, which will talk about the work she has done in the material and textile department here and all the projects she has been doing since the recent year. So I would let now the word to Alicia, if
Hi.
It's okay.
Yes, well, thanks for inviting me. I'm Alicia Rosello from Barcelona, and 15 years ago I was studying digital design and motion graphics, and I liked it, but I was not very excited about it. What I really loved was doing things with my hands, and I decided to quit digital design and start crocheting, which was very weird at that time in 2006, and maybe now too. But I decided to open a craft shop in Barcelona. It was one of the first ones that was selling like craft from all around the world. But I quickly realized that people were more interested on learning how to do things and new techniques because almost like my generation or a lot of there's a like from I don't know, late 70s probably I would say at least in Spain. We have no clue how to sew, how to do anything. There's a really big tradition in Spain of textile, but we were losing that and we're losing that. So for me, it was like so sad that no one like was continuing any of the traditions and the techniques. So I was coming from a digital design world, and I thought like maybe if I change the way the techniques or the artisans or these traditions are viewed by the young audience and it's more appealing and more like contemporary. Maybe young people would like to learn and we won't lose any of that. So I started organizing workshops. I organize workshops since 2007 now, and I have a space in Gracia, a neighborhood in town, where we teach a lot of textiles like macrame, embroidery, sewing, do basket weaving. We work with jesmonite, that is a material resina, I don't know how it's called. Resin. We do spoon carving, we do electro textiles, bioplastics. It's always like it's one, we want to have fun. The second goal is that we don't lose these techniques. Third goal is like for me, it's like every technique you can apply in your own field in whatever you want. So it's like just learn the technique and maybe we can save some of the techniques that were dying. And it has evolved. At the beginning it was more textile and now it's like more open. But I never thought I would be like 15 years doing what I'm doing and people will keep coming. I have a lot of teachers that come from South America or other countries, which is very exciting because thanks to the internet, I can reach a bigger audience. And I stopped talking about the Dua because I have 3 projects that always are surrounded by, like it's always around craft because I love craft. So I also started a festival, a craft fair in 2009 that is called Festival Days. It's every December in Barcelona. And we can show you a video on what is Festival Days. It's easier to understand. So Festivalet was one of the first craft fairs in Barcelona and Spain. We have an open call every September. Everyone is invited to come from worldwide. We have participants from South America, from Europe, even from Africa, but mostly from Spain. And there's like a lot of techniques, textile, but other like pottery, jewelry, design, like a lot of when natural cosmetics, etc. Everything, like the goal is that everything is handmade or locally produced, ecologic, or we can trace the origin of the product. And it started with 8 booths and now has been growing slowly every edition. We're gonna do the 14th edition this year, and we have like 100 vendors and more or less like 8,000 visitors, which is a proof that people are really like changing their minds and are interested in this kind of projects. And my 3rd project is something called Talleres Nómadas, that I translated, it's like nomad workshops. I started in 2015 because I love to travel, but when I travel, I'm more interested on going to see the craft shops, the materials, the artist studios, the artisans. I'm not interested in checking the local Sagrada Familia or the monuments I'm supposed to see. So I started in 2015 going to Morocco, to Marrakesh, and doing workshops and learning with local artisans. We're doing pottery, embroidery, weaving, and then we also went to the mountains to see how the rugs are made and all the process from the ship to the final rug. And now we're also doing nomad workshops in Guatemala, in Central America, in Mallorca, in Spain, and we're preparing some others in Greece and Japan and Sicily. And it's something that I started something I like to do because it's fun to travel, and other geeks and nerds around the world that loves crafts, maybe they will join me. And that's what happened. So it was never on my mind to do this project, but it was like people wanted to travel with me and learn with artisans. So here we are. And this is more or less what I do.
Thank you.
And you see, maybe we're a bit on time. So.
Thank you. So, as Alicia, I really like the color and all this energy that there was also on the photo that we were presenting.
Yeah.
So now we will listen to Edith, which is online, and we will talk about Chacha de Dones Cosidores. Let's see the story. Hi,
Okay.
Edith.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Can you unmute yourself?
Hi, women. Thanks for invitation. I am Edith. I collaborate in the Charcha de Dones Cosedoras, and a sewing teacher, and a pattern maker. Can you hear me?
For the discussion. After, I don't know.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I put the volume?
Yeah.
The Charcha de Dones Cosedoras is a project of 10 sewing groups for Barcelona and its surroundings. Through some first meeting promoted mainly by the Pare Manel Foundation and the Textiles Cooperative, and decided to unite as a big group network to work connected and give greater visibility than if each group were working separately, and that's meeting their needs. And the objective de la Charcha and divided into two lines. One hand, community support with each of the 10 groups and between groups, and between the Charcha and the network groups. This is done through meetings, activities that promote synergies, care, and Chinese activities, not just sewing. And the second line is the productive sphere, which for now aims for economy activity to be complementary and not the only income for the women of the groups. Since the formation of the Charcha, it had the accompaniment and support of the Pare Manel Foundation, the Textiles Cooperative, and the financial support of the Barcelona City Council and Barcelona Activa, principally. In the sense of production, each of the 10 groups has its own identity and products, which are working in the Charcha workshop. Production orders. One way is our the production of their 10 groups, and other is the production orders are also received within the 40 participants of the Charcha. Likewise, that moment of production is carried out within the Charcha workshop. The Charcha workshop is located in City Barcelona, in the space in share with a Casal and Gran. Casal and Gran, which are living in our country, is a living space for elderly and neighborhood. Well, in space and workshop the Charcha, and other side regarding the organization. In the Charcha, there is a weekly assembly, some decisions are made on the assembly system. Currently, work being done on the legal construction, on the network, in the development and process of being and cooperative or not, an association or not, always from a participatory and good way. From the Charcha, we see it possible to work and continue working locally, proximity, collaborate and commission from entrepreneurs or public administration, covering only the work that we can. Of course, agreeing with the same line of values. Currently, our job is participating in articulating the textile sector in Catalonia and other groups. Therefore, that is where we call locate to current, work in the Charcha, articulate with the other 16 sectors. For this moment is all the presentation.
Thanks, Edith. We have been discovering the Charcha de Dones Cosidores with Anastasia recently in the Festival of Social Economy of Catalonia. It was really nice to see all this social initiative, and I think when we talk about textile in Barcelona, and how we can rethink about how we could be productive, and also making chacha, which means red in Spanish, but network in English. We really have the value of social economy, and all this ecosystem that is being present behind each initiative is really, really interesting. And I think also when we are moving from this sewing collective, and now we will talk a bit more of networks. This is the platform which is being developed locally here, and have a whole story that Jessica will now share with us. I think it's super important to see the complementary of this different initiative, and this platform can help also. It's in a way to synergize, to connect different people who need this to sustain their activity in a way, and to see how they can also maybe share differently the resources, utilize the space. And yeah, so Jessica, if you can share the story of Makebox and a bit of what you're doing in the FabLab.
Yes, thanks, Marianne. You already brought up quite some nice topics there, which is like in the essence of MakeWorks. To give a brief recap about what MakeWorks actually is, because it might be new for some of the audience members. So MakeWorks is an initiative or a project that is located and hosted here at FabLab Barcelona, but actually it has a longer history than that. So it is originally from Scotland. It's from a person called Fionn, who decided during their master's studies or bachelor studies that they really struggle finding manufacturers, because manufacturers often don't have a website, or it's around the corner behind a garage, and it's very hard sometimes to find, as a designer, a manufacturer to create or to produce things in a medium scale, like not large scale, but the medium or small to medium scale. So with this idea, they traveled around Scotland and made the whole project, a master project, around making local manufacturing accessible in Scotland. This was quite a while ago and inspired many other regions to do the same. So what MakeWorks is today, basically, is a collective or an accumulation of regions in Europe and beyond who are interested in making local production accessible. So we are currently around 10 regions. This comes from all the way up in the cold north from Iceland, all around Europe, and goes to the UAE. And which is really interesting is that you can see MakeWorks, the platform itself, kind of like an open library, a public library, in which you can enter and find who you are looking for to make things happen. So if I'm a person, a designer, a small company, maybe even a bigger company, and I'm searching for a producer, this is where I might find local production facilities, or even material suppliers or whatsoever. Today I'm representing actually MakeWorks Catalonia, because we're also establishing our own region here. We're testing it kind of in Poblenou, in the area, in the neighborhood which we are in. And Marion already gave a really nice introduction about our textile background and the industrial background of Catalonia, or from Barcelona. So that plays also a huge role in the narrative of our area. So as you mentioned before, we have a background in textiles and general industry. It's like the small Manchester, or the Spanish Manchester seen here. And so there's a lot of productivity, but if you have been in Poblenou before or in Barcelona, you know that you cannot always necessarily see these kind of amazing creative people. So they're often hidden here behind garage doors or whatsoever. So what we're doing right now is really engaging with the local productivity of our area, talking with manufacturers, giving them the visibility they deserve, because through different reasons, as also you mentioned before, the crafts, especially in the craft sector, many things are disappearing, knowledge is disappearing, companies have to close down to whatever environmental or legal issues. So it's really, or economic issues, so it's really difficult for many companies to stay alive. We try to support the local economy by giving these people visibility and trying to connect the local productivity to the people who want to make here, to not always find someone in China or in another area of the world where it might be cheaper or whatsoever, but actually bring it to the place where you want to make the distances between where you sell or where you want to engage with the communities of people very short. So yeah, this is basically MakeWorks in like different stories, but essentially what you can, the essence of it is basically a platform in which we have the different regions established, also emerging regions like, for example, Paris or Milan coming up. They're trying to show their local productivity. For example, Sweden is a really nice example. They have a core focus only on the textile industry. In comparison, for Paris, for example, they are looking into food. So we have the diversity of the regions. They showcase their own narrative. And here in Catalonia, we have brilliant people, creative people. We really try to find more of them as well, but already showcase the productivity we have here locally.
Yeah, we have been seeing some picture on the screen. You have been seeing this picture. There was also from the local company that you have been also already on the website, which is the Zanelli.
Exactly. So one of the nice examples is actually we have some really amazing women makers here. Zanelli is one of the ones that you just mentioned. They're literally around the corner. You would not never know them if you haven't met them, probably, because it's in a big building with no name. And yeah, they work mainly with leather and textile, but there's also old textile fabricas in Raval, which they host also creative people like, for example, Penny P. Bags. She's also like a woman entrepreneur working alone, being the multitask person, as many people maybe know, like doing everything in her own company and producing her brand within that old textile manufacturing. This is a nice thing where the story of the area connects with a crafts person, a manufacturer, designer, or whatsoever, to today, and still in the textile section. So that is really interesting to see often.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Yes, so now we can move on to the last speaker before we go to do some conversation. Really living at the same place, evaluating a lot on this ecosystem of the FabLab and the makers. So now I will let Anastasia Pistofidou talk about all the story of material and textile here in Barcelona, and also leading the Shemakes project. We're working together on the project. So yeah, if we can now share the screen and present a bit this amazing work.
So thank you, Marion. It is very, I will share my screen, yes. It's very nice to organize this session. It is so funny because also the story, let's say, of the Fab Textiles Lab, which now is called Material and Textiles, started with workshops. Mm-hmm. Basically, the thing is that the FabLab Barcelona is a pioneer lab, first in Europe, bringing all of the concepts of the socialization of new technologies and making it accessible to the wider public. And the mission, since it was founded like in 2007, is to make this accessible to the public. No? So when I started working, I started making different workshops here at the FabLab Barcelona, but they were not around textiles. Mm-hmm. They were around the different fabrication technologies like molding and casting, electronics, 3D printing. And at that point, there was nobody else that was doing this. So it was really impactful to not only have programs that they are inside the FabLab, but also open workshops. So we started with this series of weekend workshops, where it says for the open to the public, quite accessible. And in the series, we say, okay, we do all of these different techniques, and we have people coming from the district, from around, curious ones, the weird ones at that moment, and that they wanted to know about the 3D printing and everything. And at some point, say, okay, let's make a workshop like called Hack a T-shirt. And we can use any kind of technology that we have here in the FabLab, but applied to a T-shirt. And then in this workshop, I realized that the profile of the people that came were coming more from artistic background, more from creative or fashion, or more soft skills, more women. So I said, oh, here I have a new target group. I have something that is not the normal engineer profile or programmer profile or architect profile that you would see. But I have people around, there is the design schools and all of these, that they are actually opening a new door for applying these new technologies to a different field, which is the textile and clothing industry. And I never had the intention also to go to fashion, because textile for me is super broad. It's from architectural textiles, agricultural textiles, technical, medicine-based, interior design. And so in 2012, after doing a series of workshops like silk screen printing with a vinyl cutter, 3D printing of the fabrics, we applied for a small fund, and we decided to open the Fab Textiles research line. And since then, I have been working a lot with different workshops, but always keeping the mentality that the FabLab network has, which is that everything is in a globe, it can be replicated globally, and everything is accessible and open source. So the way that I started the Fab Textiles was by yes, so the way I started the Fab Textiles was by having a webpage where you can actually enter and find everything, all the experiments. So but one part is the research, the other part is the making, the experimentation, all the process until you get to the result. But the third part is the documentation. And this is very important. So in the FabLab world, this is something like a common language. But maybe in the local level, or also looking into the different languages that everybody speaks, maybe this is something not usual. But in our FabLab world, the network is the same important if you do something, and the same importance if you document. And the good thing and the weird thing was that through all of this documentation, because on the webpage you could find how to make a simple t-shirt, or how to make a 3D printing on fabrics, or how to make electroluminescent paint, all of these things. Many other people started following these learnings, and we did different projects like making origami hats and opening the source code, so then you would have pictures, people sending email, I made this hat in Ecuador, or I made this bag in Africa. And suddenly it was something, I think because of the FabLab network that is enabling this connectivity, the research of the Fab Textiles was something that was going out in the FabLab world more and more. And so I got the possibility and the opportunity to travel all around and share these practices with labs that they didn't have this research agenda at that moment. So it was quite pioneering. And then in the end, after all of these experiments, because in the beginning it's very intuitive, we could put 4 topics that they are the main topics of research under this textile and material agenda. The first one is the digital fabrication. So applied on the textile and fashion and clothing industry, it's 3D printing for textiles, 3D printing for personalized local production, but also like laser cutting, being able to have files that they can be adapted. Then the second research line is augmenting our garments and creating performative and smart garments, which is more oriented to electronic textiles. Also, there is a big craft community of electronic textiles that I had the opportunity to join. And so all these practices were also open source from the beginning. I would find resources to learn. So the e-textile group. Then the parametric design, what we say is that we don't create a product, but we create code that can lead you to different customized and multiple designs. So data, it can be informed by data, the design. And the last one is the bio design. So after having this practice, how you can look into the materials that you're using and try to either create your own materials or resource, recycle, reuse waste. Mainly in the textile lab here, most of the fabrics that I have there because they are recycled from a company or an industry or someone gifted them or from a costume of a theater that closed and then I got them. So it's always like this. No? So, but also the bio design create new materials. So there are different applications that we have researched on the 3D printing as fabrics, electronic textiles, the parametric design, and then the one of the also bigger part, which is looking into the material circularity, which is the bio design. So a lot of different projects that have been developed and a lot of open source knowledge that is shared either in the format of a blog post or in small little zines, publications that everybody can go through. And the idea is to give very easy access to these kind of techniques and like science, no? Because sometimes when you see the biomaterials and bioplastics, chemistry and biology, maybe this can be somehow overwhelming. So how you can create something that is an easy entrance to these topics with a form of easy language or like a cookbook, no? Like something that is accessible, then after you can start opening the topics of, this is actually chemistry, this is actually biology. And working a lot with the different biomaterials, so every year like a different biomaterial, focusing a lot of the research, finishing a publication, even with mycelium, so different publications that they have been, and it's super nice because many people write, I followed this recipe, and send me some pictures and say, okay, yeah. I think that there is also this, when you are open source, you should respond to everyone, even if you're tired. So because you've done it, because you have published out there all of the information, and there is a certain amount of responsibility. So yes, this may take some time of my time that is never like paid, let's say, but there is this responsibility. Yes, if you have put it out there, then also be responsible to respond to a question. And the nice thing was that in 2014, we were organizing here the FabLab conference, and I said, okay, I will organize a big exhibition to showcase everything that we have been doing here and make my own mannequins, because renting mannequin is just not sustainable in cost and also in the mannequin, like discarding mannequins. So I invited many to the FabLab network to participate in this first digital fashion and wearable exhibition, and it was the moment where all of this network started to be created. So the first year I invited different pioneers at that moment that they were working in this intersection of digital fabrication and textiles and wearables. The second year in Boston, inviting also local designers. The third year in Paris. The fourth year. So after having also different formats of thinking fashion, not maybe with a catwalk, but in a different way, because we don't want to be in the standards. And then it was a tipping moment where also the network somehow needed a new educational program that I will talk about a little bit later. But here in the textile lab, we had also the opportunity to do collaborations with professionals. So not only research, but also kind of research and development for production. So collaborating with fashion designer, one-to-one collaboration and mentoring. Some cases creating biomaterials, in this case, that you see textile dyeing with bacteria or algae leather or mycelium hats. And textile dyeing with bacteria is something that is also an easy way to understand biology and encouraging the participant and the designer not only to come and collaborate with us, but also to learn how to do it and take this knowledge at home and be able to do it on her own. Or rescuing all heritage craft techniques, another collaboration with a designer where we leather molded accessories and garments. And also we complemented the line with some 3D printed jewelry that then afterwards they were casted on gold and silver. So completely changing the method of production and having a printer printing and using this as a mold for casting metal. And then also we have other projects here at the FabLab Barcelona that have to do with incubation of ideas, incubation of designers, one of which is the Remix El Barrio, which is a big project that has started with all of the research of food waste. And it's a super beautiful one because you see in the end how you can take the science out of the lab to the street. And that's, I think, because this is the impactful part. When you're not closed in your laboratory, but actually you bring all of these out and you create a movement. So Remix El Barrio was an incubation project in FabLab Barcelona, and it resulted to be a collective of designers, that they are food waste material makers, and we did many different design objects and products from organic waste using the local ecosystem, like restaurants, gardens, urban gardens, association of neighbors, to use this waste. And it's very inventive because everyone had different waste and they were making also different kind of products. And I will let you see a little video about also the counterpart that I talked before, that is not only doing it, but also documenting it, which is very important. So this can be replicated in other places all over the world. So this means that here we made a pilot locally, but then after, with all the documentation and open source tutorials, everybody can replicate this in another place, in another city, in another village, in another small scale or big scale, it doesn't matter. So my project that I'm currently working most is the educational part, which is also working in a networked way. So it is this program that it is in hybrid education in the intersection of textiles, digital fabrication, and biology. And it is somehow a combination of all of these diverse ideas, crazy ideas that maybe they don't fit in one box, but maybe also they don't fit in one box, but maybe it's a convergence of new disciplines that are needed in our society. So maybe the fashion designer will not be as we knew it before, but will be someone that has different skills. And this is Fabricademy. It has been hybrid since the beginning, since 2017. And many places all over the world are following this program simultaneously. Of course, there is the importance of outreaching also to countries that maybe they don't have access to such education, and also offering scholarships to places that they have really the textile production, but they cannot access to these new technologies. And this is the mission, of course, this is the same mission of the FabLab network, but in this case applied to a specific industry, which is the textile and clothing industry. Then we have different formats of people that are involved in that. But we can also see that our target group, even though we didn't intend to have women in that, in the end, the target group is 85% female. And I think that the impact of that is that there is a lot of empowerment, because we are in a place where it is thought to be more engineer oriented, but this is changing. So I feel that the participants, when they finish this program, they are really empowered because they can code, they can use any kind of tool, they can make their own career, and they can empower others. So that's the nice part of it. And I will not talk again about the different aspects of the Fabricademy. I've shown them in the different classes, but again, we have different projects of sustainability, of application, of how in one laboratory you don't make prototype, but you can make final product nowadays. And different and also the accompaniment, that we accompany our participants to their further professional life by giving them a lot of opportunities. So Fabricademy in the end is an opportunity network, and it is continuous and also makes different connections between the participants, one and the other. The reflection of this program is that it is kind of bridging the gap between education and industry, because also it has no age. We say that education has no age. Under the new technologies, everybody is a new beginner. So there is like participants from 18 to 65-year-old in the same classroom, which is nice. I guess it's the same with the workshop.
Yeah.
And then that these kind of new disciplines are kind of responding to what are the societal needs for industrial manufacturing nowadays, but also empowering people to create their own career path. So the last project that I would like to show is the platform. So it's a platform for open source circular patterns, and so it's called Open Source Circular Fashion. And it is thought that everyone can upload their pattern, and it is in vectorial format. So when you download it, you can customize and make it make adjustments or make. It's not like the old way where you scan a paper and then you print out, but everybody can directly use a laser cutter to fabricate, and also it has a lot of modular patterns inside. So I invite you all to see and check and try, upload your designs on this platform and create your products. Thank you.
So much to say about this program. It's super interesting to see really the story and how this program in itself show a lot of new narratives that could come for this world of textile and fashion. Now we will start a bit more conversing with each other, and maybe as a first round, I would like to come back on this topic that is really at the core of the Shemakes project, which is what is the role of women, the role of gender and women empowerment when we are doing this new initiative, activity, and how you, as a woman, you feel in a way supported, empowered by your own practice. So in Shemakes, what we want is really to put women in front of the scene, but in their diversity, evoking the importance and the complexity of self-confidence when we are doing things, caring, and also leadership. We revise the notion of role model, and we would like now to showcase some work that has been done here. There is 5 interview of Fabric Academy alumni that has been realized as a way to really enter in the feeling and the practice of what has been doing during this Fabric Academy course, and also how they feel about this. So we will now have a look at this video of 4 women.
Si yo me siento empoderada con el uso de las herramientas yo misma, sí, y creo que eso me hace sentir empoderada y como más libre también a la hora de crear.
We are getting into machines, getting into technology. It's a huge playground for everyone who gets involved. I think if I was to go down the architecture route, I probably would have felt a little bit more of the inequality within the industry. It was a fashion industry, but it was like, you know, this kind of tasks are for women and this kind of tasks are for men, and it was really tough.
The gender of women are playing a bigger role than before, for the reason probably because we are matching now the fashion with the scientific part.
Actually, there are women in different kind of roles and positions of the fashion industry, but they don't use machines other than the sewing machine or the knitting machine.
Mi sueño es algún día tener una ferretería feminista porque es el lugar donde yo llego y me presento y siempre me miran como diciendo, ¿qué vienes a buscar aquí?
That are dangerous tools, so only men can use them. I think it's also about us empowering ourselves, don't being scared about doing things and just learning and doing and trying to do it.
Creo que eso es súper valioso, estar en un lugar donde sea igualitario y donde todos podamos coger las herramientas y trabajar con ellas. Es como, bueno, desligar toda esta cuestión de separar por géneros, ¿no?
Personally, I didn't feel any gender imbalance, but I know and I'm aware that this tech environment is mainly for men, but I think it's something that is coming from the past. We are changing these mindsets.
The biodesign, the biofabrication field is very much female-led, and I wonder, and I often think about this, why is it more female-led? And perhaps it's because women are more inclined to be nurturing and compassionate towards nature and design and organisms.
Trabajo en un grupo donde la mayoría somos mujeres y me siento como muy confiada y cómoda en eso porque mi jefe y mis directoras no están aquí arriba, sino que están al lado mío y trabajamos como un equipo donde la opinión de todas vale por igual y es una forma mucho más horizontal.
I definitely am happy to be in a place that I'm surrounded by inspiring women.
Nice. Well, we will see some reaction now. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see also who were your role model. What was this inspiring woman that really shaped in a way the practice that you have you are now developing? Who want to start to give us some impression on this?
Well, maybe I can start. So break ice, like we said. I honestly, in the beginning, I never thought that I was going to do something just for women. It was not my goal. I thought like, well, we're in the 21st century, so these like doesn't exist anymore. That was on my mind. I was 21 years old, and I thought like, yeah, this is like not anymore. And then I realized after 15 years that I don't do things intended just for women. It's just a technique, but nowadays, after 15 years, maybe have 4 men every year. So I will say like my percentage of women, maybe it's like 98%. And I thought at the beginning, because it was more textile, so textile is really like in the history, women have like been in textile, like embroidery, weaving, sewing, etc. And I thought like, well, maybe if I start doing other stuff, because I'm always very curious with techniques, I was like, oh, I want to learn bioplastic, or I want to do, basket weaving. I thought like maybe more men will come, but no. So I was working with leather and wood and bioplastics. I even did like Arduino with Lilipad, with textiles, but no men show up. Then I did the talleres nomadas, no men show up. For like 6 years, I think I only had one client, men. And then I was like, oh, maybe we're not so, we're like in the 20th century. So then I realized like, oh, I'm creating a business for women, and I'm a woman, but honestly, I never thought about that until then, maybe 6 months ago, 1 year ago. I was like, oh, it wasn't never in my mind, this difference. I don't work so much with technology mixed with craft like you do, but yeah, and I mean, I totally understand the video we just saw, because like it's always like, oh, men are more like for machines and women are more like manually. And honestly, I think it's kind of sad that we're still having to like, make this difference. And I always say like, I don't understand why men don't realize that there's no, like, they can also go on textile. Also, then always the celebrity fashion designers are men, and but I don't know, it's like, I don't know what you think about that, but I felt like it was over, but it's not over anymore, this difference. And it's kind of sad, honestly. Like, but well, maybe men didn't realize yet how fun everything like techniques and craft are, but no. I don't know what you think about it.
I think there was something also said in that video, which I can resonate a lot. We should detach it from gender and times, because sewing doesn't have a gender, and working with a CNC machine doesn't have a gender. However you identify with, if it may be male, female, or whatever, there should be environments in which you feel that there is a space for you to learn whatever you want to learn. And I think that is crucial, that whoever we got inspired by, if it came from our own inspiration or from maybe other people, that we further nurture these kind of environments in which people feel engaged to learn of the new techniques, old techniques, whatever. And I think it's a nice reflection you have, no? Like, you didn't intend to have it in that specific direction with maybe female or feminine identifying people coming, but it happened. And that is nice as well, because I mean, there are some environments where it's maybe the opposite, or like is attracting a different type of people. And that doesn't need to be necessarily always, you don't have to open it up, always start it, because I think it also closes the door for some other people. I don't know if I can translate this well, but in times where groups are more diverse, some people don't feel as much as they can be part of, because it's too diverse. They don't feel identified with that group so much. So sometimes it's nice to have a group that maybe is just female, or just that, or just that. And sometimes it's nice to have diverse groups as well, because everyone is very different in which environments they feel empowered or feel part of the group, no? And that is something that I thought a lot when I heard the question. It's so context and personalized based. So
it is like culture, no?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
in the end, I am foreigner in a country that I was not raised here, and many times I also feel that there are some communication constraints because of the culture, that someone comes from a different background who carries all this suitcase of culture and the way that has been brought up. And of course, we are Western, so our gender divide is a little bit smaller now. Like, but if you go also to other countries, in Arab countries or in Asia, no, you can see that this is even greater. So I think that yes, we can be now very flexible and be genderless, especially the whole like mask thing would be a good like, good thing to not like more anonymous but non like binary, you know, like and in the sense of like getting inspiration, I would say that there is a part where we get inspired by similar people, no? Like that there is kind of like a role model, and you say, I want to like do like Dudu is doing to do the workshops in my country, and you know, like you have some like reference. You could also be inspired from your culture and country and mother and family. And for me, it's more inspiration from all of these people that they have documented all of the things that I know. And I think that the fact that we are so connected nowadays, it is helping us a lot to make this digital, the divide of the gender, to like really, and the cultural divide as well, to really like make limited, no? To make it even smaller. Yet, when I am in a group of friends that they're from Greece, I feel more comfortable because they can understand my irony. They can understand my.
That's exactly the thing, you know? Like sometimes it's easier to be in the group with people you feel alike because it gives you more possibilities to express yourself.
I had in Public Academy some men participant, but they cannot handle it. If there's only a woman and one man, they cannot really handle it. Yeah. So I mean, the problem is that somehow we need to talk in different language, so we can say robotic textiles, and then men will come, or you say you need to like invent something that gives you the whole picture, that is not about only something, but it's a technique or the craftsman, or maybe have a role model of an old artisan that is a man that is old, and you can
I tried this, it didn't work for me. I was like, I'm gonna put a man. I have teachers that are men, not even men come to the workshop, but I don't mind, like, but it's like really like we're not very. And what, for example, I realized traveling, it's like, for example, you were saying in Arabic country, so in Morocco, for example, some techniques are textile techniques are only for men. Some textile techniques are only for women, like tradition, like weaving a rag, it's only for women. Embroidery is only for women, but pottery and weaving in telar de bajo listo, which I don't know, another kind of loom, it's only for men. So I was like asking why. They don't even know why. It's like this, and that's it. And what I realized that, for example, in Europe or Western countries, when you weave or you do any craft, or a lot of people like they believe they are, or they think as themselves as artists or artisans,
hobby,
or like, but they feel like creative. And when you go to these countries, for example, I realize that they don't believe that they are artists or anything. They're just like women. Most of the women, like they learn how to weave or how to embroidery when they were kids because the mom taught them, just because they could be able to make some money to help the family. So they never like, they make like amazing things, like I don't know, rags that are like 3 per 8 meters, and a group of 15 women that they have organized with cooperative, but they don't think they are artists. They're just like doing something to make some money. So by going there with a group of, I don't know, 12 ladies from different countries, from Europe, women in Morocco at the beginning, they were like, why are you interested in this? Just like, we're just making a wrap. And all of us were like, oh, this is amazing. That's how you do it. This is the best. Like in Europe, no one else like is doing this. Like everything is like disappearing. Went to China, or it's made by a machine, or it's a hobby. They don't understand that concept. And then I realized after like going there several times that they were like empowering them, because like some ladies wanted to like they realized like, oh, 12 strangers from Europe come here, and now like, and they like what we do, so maybe what we do is important. So now they're like, some of them now they
Valorize
they see the
their
value.
crafts, no?
So it's like I realized that, you know, in our culture now it's more like sometimes like hobby, and in their culture it's like, I just do this to make some money. So now like when we mix that, so they empower, and now they are being more creative and create their own patterns and like trying new things, and we show what we do. So that's really cool. But it's like, it blew my mind in the beginning, because it was like,
Yes, and I think at the same time there is also this what we were mentioning a bit. There is this volunteer to scale a bit and to try to live with craft, with trying more to sell product. And I think the initiative of churches, the Dones the Dones Cosidores, the edit, but it's super interesting to feel maybe your feedback on this, because I what I listened here, it was a lot of this need to be to check the diversity, to see some moments, or we need to embrace all the complexity of involving men in our activity. And at the same time, I think all what we want to bring is that this feeling of empowerment, this need to have some safe space to discuss, to express, is super important. And I have the feeling that in this sewing collective is something that really emerged naturally.
Okay, thank you. It's very difficult talk in online with in intervention. Well, I agree with you when all that this difference between women and men for project life principally in between people, but it's very important the difference in between gender. Though, so well, for first time community works, women's network like the one now first hand in Morocco. So in Morocco too had been part of the inspiration of the Charcha. However, we have not now any model that is our reference, which we say we want to reach, because the work on the Charta has been to try, modify, proposal, try again, make mistake, proposing another. It had gone through several changes, which also has to do with this work that we continue to consolidate. And always it is very important for the Charta that always taking into account the life trajectory of women and group decision making, because principally is a family conciliation in the job. In the job, in the sewing workshop and other activities is important. Actually, for now, we are all women. Is what happened like this. You know, in all the groups, it has united use in identifying and comparing our needs and discovering that they will share it regardless of the difference between each group. The needs it same. So it's very important. Remember that the women who participate in the charter come from a group were dynamic before forming a network in their group, which is why working and coexisting in the charter community has been close. And feminines. Well, in the feminines in the world is it's not complicated, but not all agree with the feminists, with the word feminist. And there are always a constant and critical question about our work as a sewing group, care and training activities, and with the feminists. For now is this, but it's important to remember. So this work principally is made for migrant women. So vulnerability. So is so are many contexts, are many spheres in the groups. No, so if you
Yes, yeah. I think all this topic that we just bring now, and I think also the perspective of feminism, and I think we would benefit also from taking more time and people to explore all what has been done in Barcelona in the ecofeminism approach, and there is really it's really a city engaged to transform. I think in a way it allows this creativity and creates some environment to be quite safe to express and well a bit also exploring art, design, craft at the same time. There is one point maybe that we can switch a bit what we were discussing about, but really related because I saw that when we are talking about
¿Y dónde es esto?
Aquí abajo.
Want to use this microphone?
This one,
This one, yeah, okay.
the one that I have turned on.
I turned this one as well.
This will cause problem.
Yeah, I know. Okay, fine, so we'll just.
Yeah, perfect.
Which one do you want to use?
We use the one of Alexandra.
Of Alexander.
All right,
I know.
this one works now, okay?
De nuevo.
Hello.
We just make plans for a new manifest. Why? The strategy.
Yeah, sorry for this technical issue, but let's come back and ask ourselves about this ingredient for cooperation and co-creation. What's inside? How did you feel co-creation when you were creative Public Academy, Tudor, and Makeworks, the FabLab, and the churches? What are these ingredients?
I think you're the one more advanced with co-creation and collaboration, because I'm kind of jealous of your, like Fab Labs and everything started, like open source. It's always like open source is always about sharing, what you were explaining. And in my field, it's different because it's like copyrights and patterns, and people is not, at least they don't want to like share. Like sharing was like seen as a bad thing, and now it's changing a little bit thanks to the open source community, but we're still not on that, and I think we should learn from that community, and you're more advanced.
The community itself has to learn a lot as well. I mean, so basically the thing is that if I was doing all of the different things that I'm doing, I would probably need to like open 100 different companies. So you can also open this and give the opportunity to others, because you're not going to do that first. And secondly, is like this typical example that if you have a group of researchers in a company that they are doing something under a patent, they cannot share anything, so they will do like research very meticulous, and they are four. But then if you open your research and put it out in the world, then the world will be million people working together on making this happen. So all the intelligence of the world will come together and things will move forward if you are contributing with something good, like something that will help people or empower them. So there is no economical good model of open source, and there's a few examples, like the precious plastic community is a good example of open source, like in terms of economy, let's say. And this is because also when we went back in 2014 here in FabLab Barcelona, we invited two lawyers to help us create a Fab Market platform. And we told them that we want this to be open source. And the lawyers, they said, we don't know what is this. And then it's also like the policy and all the laws and everything that they need to catch up with what is happening in the world. These things are a lot slower. It's like education.
Yeah.
So that's why you have informal education, you have online education nowadays, you have hybrid education, because some things they are more difficult to change if they are big or if they are under like public that you have to write the curriculum and it has to be approved and it has to be staying the same for many years. So I think that to come back to the co-creation, I think that it requires to be and the word comes in Greek and it's a very nice word and I don't know how to translate it in English now. To be like humble, because nobody invented the wheel, and you learned from the others, and you need to be humble, but at the same time, you need to give attribution to all the ones that have contributed to you being here now. So this is very important. And then in taking decisions commonly, this is something that is quite complex and it requires patience. So basically in co-creation, I would say that you have to be humble to understand that you're doing something for the world and not for you. And then you also need to be patient to be able to listen everyone because they come from different culture, they have different needs because they want other things. So these are the things that I would say are important.
Yeah, I can agree on many things. I think we've mentioned also quite a few things already before. I think there are many ingredients, as you said, to co-creation, like the listening, to be humble, to be patient. And I think one thing that maybe I'm missing, or the one thing I would kind of like add to this list is this kind of like session 0. I think that is the moment where we come together the first time, whoever these people might be, and we talk about what is actually the purpose or the vision or the ideas or the personal perspectives and needs and things we want to do. Because if there's a moment in a year or two or later where there might be conflict or questions or something, there's a moment to go back to session 0, the documentation we had from that day, and see, okay, now we have this question. We can go back to this first document we made. Does it still relate to this? Do we still want to do this in the first place because we said it 2 years ago? Or is this the moment to change the path or whatever? And there are so many things you said that are part of that, like the open dialogue, the listening to other people, and that has to be there constantly throughout the whole time. And then also acknowledging if something doesn't work out or someone doesn't want to be part anymore. And conflict is not something negative. I think we see conflict often something as something we don't talk about, we have to take out of the room, and it's like, no, because after the conflict, when we get through that point, it's where it gets exciting again. Because we agreed on something, or we find a path where the bond between the people participating is stronger. And I think that is a really, really nice thing. So my thing I always think about is having one document, having one thing, one, I don't know, sketchbook, whatever that might look like, where we can go back to afterwards throughout time. Helps a lot. To disagree on things again, or disagree on things again, which is also completely okay. I don't know.
I don't know if Edith want to say something.
Yeah, Edith, if you have.
Edith want to say something?
No, I cannot.
No podemos escuchar.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So yeah, we have many ingredients. I think I can. I think something Edith was also saying, or when she was discussing before, is the importance of collective governance and how we in moments maybe where we need also to sometimes get out of power and try to listen, as it was mentioned, and go to find a consensus and really acting. And I think more we are, and I think more we are passionate in a way on the value and the vision that we want to promote, there will be a lot of intensity on the discussion, and maybe we will take time and a lot of energy, emotion to go to the points of co-creation. but let's say that the journey worth it, because after we have a really better understanding of who we are, where we are, what we are doing with who, and we create really an ecosystem which is more based on trust, and it's important, I think, to relate to that.
What I've seen in the past, and I think it's changing a little bit, but in the textile and fashion field, it's changing, but there's still a lot of people that there's a lot of people that they don't want to share, like, for example, suppliers. Like some years ago, I had a project, a website that reminded me of what you were explaining. It was a website with suppliers from all around Spain. I can give you all the information on my data. So the thing is that there was a lot of designers and crafts trying to look for suppliers and factories. Most of the factories were closing. And then I was like, let's do a website just for fun and just to help everyone to look for suppliers and factories, etc. And everyone was like, wow, that's an amazing idea. So we did it for in our spare time with €0. We put up the money ourselves. And then everyone was like, it's a super great idea, yeah. And then I was like, cool. So share with me all your suppliers and all the factories that you use to produce, and I will put it on the website, and we all share, and no one wanted to share it. So I was like, I mean, some of them share, but I will say 60% they didn't want to share. They just want to have all the contacts. So now this is changing. I think so, and I hope so. But it was very disappointing to me, because it's sometimes if I share, for example, my knitting supplier, it doesn't mean you're going to make exactly the same thing you're doing. It's just a supplier, it's just a material, it's just a technique, and there's 5,000 million things you can do. And I was very surprised.
But this comes a lot from also the fashion education and the discipline, because fashion is super competitive. The students, they don't want to show the things they're doing because they don't want the other to go and buy the same fabric.
Yes.
And this inside here, is completely the opposite. So in our case,
there's hope.
When the Fabric Academy students come every year, there is this shock every time.
Okay.
So because they come from fashion design or textile design, and they get no, here everybody will show everything and we will learn from each other. And they are, but this is because they come from I think that the fashion and the textile background, if they have studied that, it's promoting a lot of the competitiveness.
More secrets. For example, I wish I could, some years ago, I knew Xarxa de Dones Cosidoras because I had a million people asking me where can I sew things. And I don't know. And I was looking for this Xarxa for many years, and I found it today. So it's never late. So and I was like, if people ask me where to do, where I buy my material, I mean, doesn't mean that you're going to do the same thing, but there's still this thought. So
mentality.
Thanks God that I didn't continue my project. It got hacked. I was doing it in my spare time, and I was like, I don't have time. So I'm going to pass you everything to you. Because I think it's basic that people know, if we don't help each other, who's going to help us? Everything, a lot of factories were closing down, suppliers were.
Then the question would be how we can make it appealing and attractive for the people to want to be there.
Yeah.
So, to create the opposite, no? The opposite. It's sometimes inverse psychology, no?
Opposite psychology. I know, but it's complicated. And sometimes I was contacting the factories, and I'm like, hey, you can be on the website for free, and all the designers that are looking for factories can find you. And they were like, yeah, I already have clients. And that especially happened in small villages in Spain. And I was like, okay. So there's no way to reach them because they don't have internet or websites, etc. So I think, but it's changing. There's hope, and there's things like Xarxa de Dones Cosidoras, which is really cool, and I hope it exists everywhere on the planet. But yeah, I don't know if Eric want to say something.
Yeah, maybe a final word. We will have to close soon, so maybe we will. Each of us can say a bit a final word of. And Edith, can you? Is it working for you?
Yeah, thank you, and I agree with you.
We can put here.
And from the charter and travel experience, we share that it's very important. Need patience. It's very important. Work in group is going slow. It's going slow. Going slow is not bad, but you need patience. Very, very important is collaborating in a big way. In a big way is living the competition, say, collaborate, share with others, and is more important, and so be sure to provide more time than what is only involved in producing. For example, for decision making, time, learning, whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Edith, and thanks for all of you here. I think this discussion needs much more time to discuss, co-create some new practice also together after. So I will close now. So thank us for joining today. We have a lot of information of what has been presented, especially about the FabLab Barcelona in the website of the FabLab Barcelona. We can provide also all the link from the other initiative. We will continue to work on the project Shemakes all the year. So you can follow us in the social media. We have a great Voices series of live interview which take place monthly. So feel free to join us. There is dialogue, and also as we have done today, trying to capture a bit what is this inclusivity and empowerment means to the textile and clothing industry. We will be releasing a free learning path that the lab of the Shemakes project are being producing now. Of course, with the open source philosophy that has been shared a lot today, that seems to be key, apart from also having time, energy, and of course, having the feeling to enter in those fields with sustainable revenue. So yes, reach out any Shemakes lab that is around you. Here in Barcelona, you can join the FabLab, and if you want to get involved, you want to give your voice to the Shemakes project, feel free to contact us. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Shemakes is an international community of partners and labs engaged in empowering women to innovate and contribute to a more sustainable textile and clothing industry. Shemakes offers a series of opportunities for inspiration, skills exchange, and networking. Shemakes has received funding through the Horizon 2020 program. For more information, see www.shemakes.eu.